right, so today my confusometer of the government and its officials just went through the roof. Boop, boop. House Resolution 888 passed. Now, what is a House resolution? A resolution in any chamber of Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate, is basically just like, hey, these are the rules upon which we're going to talk about something. It is not legally binding outside of the space. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is how they're going to carry on forever, but it can be indicative of how they're going to create policy. So to me, it is troubling when the House conclusively agrees that anti-Zionism is equivalent to anti-Semitism, that Jewish people, regardless of nationality, are indigenous to the land of Palestine, claims that the European genocide of Jewish people in the Holocaust provided new urgency to establish a settler colony. What? Resolves to support the Zionist entity's right to exist, and rejects calls for the establishment of Palestinian sovereignty over the land and condemns the Palestinian resistance. This is in the House resolution. Here's the resolution right here. Whereas the Jewish people are native to the land of Israel, whereas throughout history and across you can read it yourself. Go online. But Amanda, I don't want to go online. That's why I came to your page. Okay, so here's a little bit more. Basically what it's saying right here is that if you challenge the right of Israel as a country to exist, that you are anti-Semitic, which we all know is not the case, because ultimately, if Israel's right to exist is contingent upon the apartheid regime that it has imposed on Palestine, then it should not be able to exist. How is this? That's not anti-Semitic. What that is pro-humanity. But Amanda, Israel is a democracy. No, it's not. In Israel, Jewish people in Israel have particular rights that other people do not. That is not okay. And it's not anti-Semitic to say so. One group should not have more rights than another group. But of course, we in America, where that's always been the case in America, and even in current efforts to bring equality, you have that same group who has all the rights saying that it is discriminatory to prioritize providing rights to those who have never had them in equal amounts, or to even have focused efforts that work on those people getting those equal rights. Is it adding up for y'all? Is it math thing? Now, when I said my confusometer went through the roof, it's because this wasn't like half the House. It was like 15/16, like my homeboy said, including the progressives that so many of us have been supporting. AOC, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Jasmine Crockett. Like, why would y'all say that this is okay? And maybe I don't understand the politics. I don't want to understand the politics because first and foremost, this is ahistorical. To my understanding, none of these people in the House are historians that are experts at this area of the world. This has already been said, proven, debunked by historians. So that should be the precedent upon which they are having conversations about it. But these are the same people who are also creating legislation around science that absolutely just disregards actual scientific facts. The same with medicine that disregards actual medical findings. Why are these people in position and not held to a standard where their actual legislation, their resolutions, etc., need to be reflective of the actual bodies of work and experts that are already doing the work? The hubris is unconscionable. It's also unintellectual, and it really is racist. I mean, it's racist. It is the support of an apartheid regime. Period. Point blank. End of story. So maybe someone can explain to me why these folks would so cohesively support something that is so absolutely clearly unjust. Because I can't call it. Not with a cordless phone. I can't call it. And the reality is that a lot of this ends up being about people wanting to get reelected. And I got to look at the government the way that I look at policing. The culture of policing makes it so that you can't be a good person within that culture because the culture is bigger than you. And at this point, that's the government. And so we ask ourselves, what do we do? Well, it means that we have to find people who can go into that space and flood it with a different effort. When I say go into government, I don't just mean as an elected official. I mean people who want to be in there as aides, as staffers, people who want to be in there in the House as parliamentarians, etc., etc., etc. So that's what it is. We are in a wild time. We're watching history happen in real time. And I keep seeing people say like, oh, like history will remember this, history will remember that. Fuck history. Like we are right here, right now, seeing people make decisions that are reflective of character. And it means that we as the people will make decisions reflective of character. The reality is that voting is always going to need to be a part of our revolution. There has to be a multi-pronged approach. And when it comes to voting, I know people are now deciding that they want to vote not just based on politics, but based on morals. And so we are going to need candidates that stand on business. And when I say stand on business, I mean the business of the people. And I know that it feels idealistic to say that we can create a groundswell around that. But, I'm sure that it was also idealistic to say that slavery would ever end in America. And it did. So, but let me just say this. I don't think any of us have ever looked for the government to be moral. But they may want to do what they want to do in the house, but you need to govern your house the way you want to govern it. And ultimately, I don't want nobody in my house that is a Zionist sympathizer. I don't want nobody in my house, in my space, in my circle that considers the genocide of Palestinians acceptable or even none of their business. And that's how things change. Things change not just because of the government or because of policy. Things change because of culture. And people drive culture. So you as us have to decide where you're going to draw the line. You can't choose necessarily who your neighbors are. You can't choose who your coworkers are, but you can choose who you interact with and whose political views you support. And I feel like we're watching people be extremely loud and bold about their hatred. And we should be extremely loud and bold about saying that that is simply unacceptable.